When you're a lesbian woman who's into retro console games, your options for romance games are, in a word, slightly dwarfed. Especially if you want the more mechanics-driven ones. Not that it's all doom and gloom, of course. I have my options, it's just most of them are on computers and probably a better fit for someone else's channel. Kuno Ichiban is kind of the limit, is the problem. It's hard to avoid the likes of Tokimeki Memorial, Sakura Wars, Amagami. It's something I used to be slightly more bitter about, but I don't care so much these days. I've had my runs of Tokimeki Memorial, and will have yet more in the future. It's a fun game. It's seen more recognition over this side in recent years, thanks to very big videos and translation patches, but less talked about in English spaces are Tokimeki Memorial spin-offs. 1997 was a fortuitous time in Konami's history, the series still riding the highs of its 1995 PS1 port's popularity, and taking advantage of that to pump out the weirdest spin-offs you've ever seen. While all the way on the other side of Konami, Kojima Productions had just released the PS1 port of Policenauts, a Hideo Kojima production. Think about it, we've got an engine perfectly suited for moving a cursor around and clicking on things. And we've got this famous game about moving a cursor around and clicking on things. What else could people want? More games about moving a cursor around and clicking on things. Well, okay, there's actually one specific observation people tend to make about Tokimeki Memorial, and it's one somewhat core to the game's design identity. Tokimeki Memorial is, by the admission of the game's own opening sequence, about getting with Shiori. It's not uncommon for romance VNs to have a central heroine, but it bears mentioning that romance VNs and dating sims are not the same thing. A romance VN is a traditionally structured narrative, a choose-your-own-adventure book that ultimately just tends to ask which heroine you're most interested in experiencing the story of. A dating sim is closer to other specific subgenres of simulation game built up on early Japanese computers like Raising or Life Sims. It's mechanical, it's rigid, and yet also loose. It can have fixed routes, or it can be a collection of scenes you might stumble into. In Tokimeki Memorial's case, the game is sort of this odd, detached management game. A cartoonish and nostalgic framing of a game where the principal mechanics prize optimization, managing chaos, and surviving against a growing list of girls to optimize your way into a winning run with the main girl. Even describing Tokimeki Memorial this way is obviously simplifying it. Tokimeki Memorial has its wider cast, and these characters, despite not being as perfect as Shiori, not being presented as much of an ideal, are arguably more interesting exactly for that fact. They can have stranger, more contrasting personalities, funnier gimmicks, or just generally be more likable specifically for the simple fact that they don't have such oppressively high standards of you, that they're willing to meet you on your level with your shared interests. Quite a few more girls in Tokimeki Memorial are popular beyond Shiori herself. Having a perfect idol only draws people to the more flawed and distinctive members of that cast. This is something Konami's dating sim design teams would notice quickly, and directly address in sequels. Mitsumete Night, built off the same engine, immediately showcases that, with essentially casting off this entire structure. There's no longer a perfect girl to aim for, just a collection of characters to meet and interact with, though the much more dramatic addressing of the situation would be seen in Tokimeki Memorial 2, a sequel that essentially flips the script on the whole thing. Where Tokimeki Memorial 1 was this stressful and punishing optimization game at a high level, with social mechanics like bombing that can bring a run crashing down, and create this overwhelming sense of opposition and paranoia, where it featured a central heroine who's as much of a boss character as she is a love interest. Tokimeki Memorial 2 chooses to redistribute the depth of the gameplay away from intense mechanical knowledge, and closer into what one might actually typically expect based on the series' surface identity. A more laid-back, more emotionally connecting, more in-depth simulation of high school dating life. The less frantic pace and softening of bombs are major ways it does this, but no single aspect of Tokimeki Memorial 2 exemplifies it, like Hikari Hinomoto, a character who is at both times Two's Shiori and its anti-Shiori, a cute, lovable childhood friend character, but not an idol, not one that you've grown distant from, not in quite the same way at least. The opening act of the game is dedicated to getting you familiar with her, and throughout the game, she acts as a much gentler, more sympathetic figure who actively pursues you and has immediate imperative to care about you. In every way, 2 makes efforts to show that it's a much more genuinely nostalgic, laid-back, and kinder game than the first one, which continues to extend out to its characters. While Tokimeki Memorial 1 did feature character-specific scenes and vignettes, they were pretty sparse and pretty short. The first Tokimeki Memorial was impressionistic and mechanical. 2 wants you to do some actual reading and really give its cast time to set themselves apart. Even the character introductions are noticeably longer than the first game and are no longer tied to the raising of specific stats. You can't game around meeting characters as much, which means the act of meeting characters is in itself a different, more casual, and less stressful experience. All of this evolution in the design of the sequel is well and good, but Tokimeki Memorial 2 wouldn't arrive until 1999. In the meantime, Konami wanted ways to keep making money off their newly discovered golden goose. There were puzzle games, weird arcade conversions, an OVA, but with a game full of beloved, iconic characters, ones who are somewhat shortchanged by its specific approach to its format, and a studio in possession of a fairly robust engine for cinematic point-and-click adventure games, there's one pretty clear idea for how all these different resources could be utilized. And so, with their easily reusable and scalable engine, one with support for fairly advanced features like minigames and more slick visual effects, Koji Pro was tasked with utilizing their advanced cursor-clicking technology to make a trilogy of spin-off adventure games, zeroing in on very specific points in Tokimeki Memorial's calendar to build more detailed, illustrated, and intimate character vignettes that could expand on the game's cast and lend them a deeper sense of interiority and connection with the player, beginning with this first volume, Nijiiro no Seishun, or Rainbow-Colored Youth, centering on fan-favorite sports club manager Nijino Saki. While a typical game of Tokimeki Memorial will make you decide many things, including your name, birthday, and blood type, Drama Series actually provides a default player name for once, Fujiwara Masaki. The opening of the story is simple enough, starting in the spring of 1997, the 18th of April, towards the end of a typical run, though time seems to work a bit differently here. I guess we're matching the game's release date rather than the originals. The protagonist of Tokimeki Memorial always provides some color narration, but in keeping with this more minute shift in format, his narration here is much more colorful, painting himself as a hapless youth whose only point of confidence is his physical ability. The name is Fujiwara Masaki. I'm just an average second-year student here at Kirameki High. I couldn't say I'm much good with homework if you asked me, and stuff like computers and art, well, let's just say my talents are limited. Just about the only thing I'm good for is my physical ability. But lately, I'm even starting to doubt myself there. As we properly cut in on current events at the soccer club we're enrolled in, or maybe I should call it football, I don't know, go with whatever you feel. Our good pal Nijino walks up to check on our sorry sap before he dies of gloom. They're about to announce the regulars for the team, and Nijino's showing confidence that it doesn't seem like we've earned if Fujiwara's grumbling about last year's embarrassment is to be believed. They establish a clearer timeline of events to our history with the club. Nijino joined about a year ago and came to call on Fujiwara's strength after witnessing his surely incredible power at the June Athletics Festival that I have consistently always performed terribly at on every run of the game I've done. Could not be me. Or could it? As we talk about the upcoming announcement, we learn that a few slots are opening up, but at least one of them is going to go to a star newcomer by the name of Sawatari. The numbers don't lie, and for this loser who already had to take remedial school lessons today, they spell disaster for him at the announcement. But who knows? Maybe he prayed to the gods for athletic luck this year.
あと1名。センターフォワード1年沢渡。はい。やったー。以上だ。
おいおい、沢渡のやつ1年でレギュラーかよ。
才能の差か、嫌になるよな。
静かに。再来週の末賀高校との対抗試合に向けてこのメンバー中心で特訓する。以上。練習開始。
はい。
Alas, the coach's cold words hit like a hammer and nail us to the ground. Or to the bench. Fujiwara's not but to resign himself to his fate of warming seats and grabbing balls. And you have to do it, manually, too. Every day now. This is our life. At least until practice time for the leftovers starts. Since old Fujiwara's a forward, we get to do an exciting free kick minigame. This is a pretty major structural piece of Nijiiro no Seishun's core game loop, so get used to it. Hit those panels, kid! With the day over and no friends to hang out with, Fujiwara drags himself out to the sports shed to continue his long-standing after-school ritual, rubbing ball after ball after ball. I couldn't even become a regular. Just what am I even doing with myself? Come to think of it, when I started polishing these balls, I was still at the start of my first year. That guy in the same grade as me, Tanaka Ryuta, got his seat in the regulars over me, just like Sawatari. Back when they couldn't even properly let me touch balls. I thought, someday, that'll be me. That's when I started my little training regimen, shining up these balls every night. But in the end, even my work here didn't bear any fruit. Nijino thought that highly of me, huh? Man, I can't even look her in the eye right now.
それでね、虹野先輩聞いてくださいよ。昨日の晩にもまた電話があったんですけど、もうその話ばっかりで。先輩？何してるんですか、こんなところで。
Bursting into the shed, Nijino and a fresh face, unfamiliar to even those wizards who've poured hours into Tokimeki Memorial, appear. The short one is Akiho Minori, Nijino's assistant manager and a very clingy type.
先輩こそ。私忘れ物しちゃって、それで取りに戻ってきただけですけど。
She doesn't like Fujiwara. She also doesn't hate him. This generally seems to be the first time she's ever even acknowledged Ball Boy's existence.
あ、そうそう、虹野先輩、それでね、昨日また電話があったんですけど、私お風呂入るからまた後でって言ってるのに、メンタルなサポートするのもマネージャーの仕事とかなんとか言って。先輩？
残念だったね、レギュラー。そうね。手伝おっか。そう。
Either Minori has acute genre awareness or a total lack of it to be talking through this very emotional sequence. Either way, Fujiwara and Nijino soak in their mutual awkwardness until Minori manages to pull her out. Well, after sticking some more barbs in.
じゃあ先輩、私たち帰ります。お先に失礼します。西野先輩、どこまで話しましたっけ？そうそう、沢渡くんが昨日電話かけてきたって話ですよね。沢渡くんたら当たり前みたいなふりして、あれで結構喜んでるんですよ。それでね、高校でも1年でレギュラー取ったぞって。
みのりちゃん。
何ですか？
みのりちゃん、さあ早く帰りましょうね。じゃあまた明日。
お先に失礼します。
You gotta stop, Minori. The boy can't form himself into any more of a ball shape than he already is. Maybe some nighttime training at our secret practice ground down by the shrine can clear our head a bit. The nighttime training gives you an opportunity to properly attune yourself to the minigame's odd control scheme, and the challenges of whatever trials you face the next day. It's a fairly simple minigame to control, but one with unexpected levels of depth to its physics, so this is quite helpful. As we arrive home and go to our well-deserved sleep, the first day of Nijiiro no Seishun draws to a close, having firmly established our cast, our tone, our stakes, and our mini-games. The rest of the game, from here, follows this rough outline day by day, with different slightly varying events in each one, so it's time to zoom out just a bit for a broader overview and snapshots of the more interesting events. The second day introduces our classic creep caper and lifelong bestie, Yoshio.
Yo!
In a bid to drag us out of dejection, he delivers advance notice of one of his classic moves, the theme park double date.
まあ長い人生いろんなことがあるさ。そんな時はこれ。じゃーん。
These happen often in the main game, but Yoshio doesn't usually display such grace there. This is special for him. Especially the part where it's going to cost us, and we've got to hand Nijino her ticket.
あら、どうしたの？まだ部活に行かなくていいの？
As if to clearly establish that we live in a timeline of peace and not war, we're able to have a completely normal casual conversation with Shiori Fujisaki, one that assuredly has no risk of her mercilessly bombing our social life into devastation. You know something is different when she's not embarrassed to be seen around you. You get to glean a handful of fun information here, like that Yoshio's big book of information is actually compiled from information he just kinda normally asked for. Well, mostly. The parts that would be normal to ask for, at least. If you ask her about her plans for Golden Week, she says she's gonna go to the zoo to look at the koalas. Are those the only thing at the zoo any of these people care about?
あなた、ライオンとコアラ、どちらが強いと思う？
For real though, there's something oddly momentous here. You talk with girls a lot in Tokimeki Memorial, yes, but you don't talk with them. Mechanically, you do sort of end up having to treat them all as hazards, obstacles, shards of glass, rakes you're desperately trying to avoid stepping on. You walk home with them, you entertain them, you dance for them like a monkey, praying none of them decide to drop a big fat Bomberman-style bomb on your reputation. But it's rare that you get to sit down and have a full conversation without visualizing some kind of anvil dangling above your head. Being able to just have a casual exchange with Shiori about classical music really makes it feel like you've stepped through a wormhole into a utopian 97, where love is real, peace rules the land, and your school acquaintances won't view you failing to invite them out on a third date to the library as some kind of political slight that must be repaid in blood. When Shiori, Fujisaki Shiori, the girl defined mechanically within the series as this sort of demanding omega goddess who lures in unsuspecting warriors with the promise of being the one, only to force them to overcome harrying traps and trials, who reacts as if you were a mere worm to the suggestion of walking to your neighboring homes that you both live at together. You, two people who know each other and have no bad blood, for the crime of simply not matching up to her hazily defined standards. Basically, the fact that she of all characters is willing to just, be normal and treat you like a normal person in a story where you're not even aiming for her and are in fact viewed school-wide as a bit of a dope, depicting the dirty details of the kind of run where, for contrast, you'd need to be far excelling in your field to get this level of acknowledgement from her. It's a tone change, and not at all an unintentional one. Since the tickets actually cost some cash, you get the option of hiding the price tag from Nijino and paying out of your own pocket, lying to her so you can split it, or just telling her outright. There's no consequences for honesty here, so it's just a nice little interaction that tells you something about her. I like it.
はい、じゃあこれお金のこといいに決まってるじゃない変なの
The theme park date itself is a fun sequence and extrapolation of what in the original game tends to amount to just a handful of ride X ride with X girl prompts for a quick relationship boost. Here it's a proper date that explains exactly what kind of setup you and Yoshio are pulling for this, your partners being the aforementioned Nijino Saki and the series' iconic quiet bookish girl who's tried to bomb me way too many times in a row before, Kisaragi Mio. As mentioned though, this is a more peaceful world. Mio is my friend now. As you wander the park, you can mess with some miscellaneous little interactions, buy a funny voice changer as a souvenir, make small talk with both the girls and Yoshio. You generally navigate with one girl by your side, and you've got to call Yoshio over if you want to swap to the other. A bit of a funny mechanical contrivance, but the dialogue here is pretty lush. You can have shockingly normal conversations about a startlingly broad selection of topics that make your relationships in this setting feel healthier than they ever have. There's one problem, though. I got soft-locked. Can't say exactly why, but after turning my boy's face screen riding the roller coaster, something in the scripting just broke, and I was left completely unable to go into the Haunted Mansion ride. Awkward programming has trapped this group of teens in theme park samsara, blocked from escape on both sides because that dork Yoshio keeps saying we can't ride the Ferris wheel till sunset. Nice going, pal. Now we'll never attain nirvana. Thankfully, drama series prompts you to save at the start of every day as a matter of course, and after looking up a YouTube video, I figured out where I went wrong. How silly of me. I forgot to ask Nijino to go buy a hamburger. Now with the hamburger consumed and present within the inventory known as the stomach, it can act as the ideal solution for this convoluted puzzle. As Fujiwara runs off in a bathroom-obsessed daze, he stumbles into another new girl, though not so much a character as in the case of Minori, as a minor industry franchise marketing campaign? Celebrity cameo. This is just meant to be a neat extra. She's a girl who won an actual contest to star in a line of commercials for Tokimeki Memorial. And to sweeten the deal, she gets to have her soul live on forever through the medium of a joke cameo in Koji Pro adventure games. We all wish we could be so lucky. The Haunted Mansion itself turns out to be little more than an iconic moment of Tokimeki Memorial yaoi.
まったく何が悲しくてお前と手繋いでなきゃいけないんだか。
But the Ferris wheel goes a bit closer to plan, getting a one-on-one ride with just us and Saki. Now that we're alone up here, she confesses that she feels sorry for how much pressure she put on us.
期待持たせるようなこと言って悪かったなってずっと考えてた。実はね、今日はそれを言いに来たの。ごめんなさい。
Fujiwara mostly seems disappointed it's not a romantic confession. Oh, lighten the hell up, kid.
そうでも来てよかった。本当に楽しかった。みおちゃんもね、もともとこういう賑やかなとこ苦手な子なんだけど、とっても楽しかったって言ってた。また4人でどこか行きましょう。今度は街に出て映画か何か。あ、そうそう、それからこれも聞こうと思ってたんだけど、いつも用具室のサッカーボールきれいにしてくれてたのあなただったの？この前見かけた時ちょっと感動した。本当にこの人はサッカーが好きなんだなって。そんなことない。嬉しかったよ。私の目に狂いはなかったって。だから諦めないでね。あんなに一生懸命なんだもの。報われないはずないわ。ファイトだよ。ね。
Neither relieved nor saddened, the theme park date ends in a soft okay. Well, they never tend to be too exciting in the first one, so this is far from the worst case. Mio even promises to give you a book of soccer tips to help you practice. Guess that means it's time to get refocused. Back to the balls. The Secret of Tokimeki Memorial Drama Series Volume 1 is that most doesn't happen on most days. That's not to say nothing does. Even if nothing's happening with Nijino, free days are time to spend with the rest of the game's iconic characters, and this is the part of the game I enjoyed far more than I expected. Again, you never really got an opportunity to talk with anyone like this in the original. So while I always found characters like Yumi funny, I never actually got an opportunity to, hang out and joke with her like this. Hell, if I said something as simple as dolphins are smart, she'd take it as me implying she's just too stupid.
どうせユミはバカですよだ。
Not so here. Drama series interpretation of Yumi is a genuinely laid-back and funny character, and the way they lean hard into her love of wrestling leads to some gems. Turns out the girls can bomb you in this one, just under a different definition of bomb.
もう少し顎を上げてくれますか？あ、それでいいです。それじゃあ行きますよ。行くぞー。必殺。ユニボンバー。先輩。気がついた。先輩大丈夫ですか？あ、先輩首が変な形に曲がってますよ。ごめんなさい。戻りますか？本当ですか？ かった。先輩、本当にごめんなさい。
Mio is, as mentioned, much more relaxed here. She doesn't get a ton of super funny dialogue exactly, but she's nice to hang with. Special attention should go to the school library itself, though. It's a fun little space to poke around, and while that soccer book she mentioned seems to be checked out on your first visit, there's plenty of fun titles to look at, specifically ones that make cute references to other iconic Konami franchises, such as a copy of Dracula, a history book about Ishikawa Goemon, and this one is literally Genso Suikoden. You'll occasionally bump into a couple other series heroines, but the last one you get to spend some real downtime with is the GOAT, the mad scientist herself, Yuina Himo. Her scenes are special. If you thought Yuina was crazy in the original, she really gets to go absolutely wild here. Every time you visit her lab, some new, even more horrible, even more unfortunate fate awaits you.
悪いけど、あなたの記憶消させてもらうわ。これでも食らいなさい。
My favorite bit with her is when you stumble into her lab, find mysterious paper telling you to go hit one of 2 buttons beneath this bench to try your luck and either win her incredible soccer practice machine, or...
"まだまだ威力が足りないわね。全然ダメだわ。この私としたことが情報の配分を間違えたのか。実験のやり直しだわ。
Yeah, I'm not sure there's actually anything but an or here. Anyway, back to the main story. A lot of the game is actually placed in those side interactions, so believe it or not, there's not a ton left. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to KNN, the Kirameki News Network, bringing only the most important and global news to you live from the Kirameki High School Radio Club. We've just had some breaking news come in that is sure to shake the very foundations of the soccer world. Just this morning, at 5:10 p.m., just after the end of the school day, Kirameki High student Yoshio Saotome delivered the shocking news. Nijino Saki is quitting the soccer club. Here were his words.
ああ、西野さんが強化切りで部活やめるとかなんとか。
When we reached out to Yoshio for further comment and clarification, he had only this to say.
ああ、確かそんなこと言ってたと思うぞ。
This is truly a sad day for soccer fans worldwide. Without Nijino's guidance, what is this stupid high school boy supposed to do? Could this be the end of one of the game's most promising future stars? Without her guiding hand, how can our beloved team possibly recover in time for the big game? Our only hope is that her 2 classmates, low-charisma benchwarmer who has denied any allegations of attempting to peek into the girls' showers during the training camp, Fujiwara Masaki, and tsundere bisexual co-manager Akiho Minori, to find our rainbow idol and win back her allegiance to the team before it is too late. This has been KS Colonel, reporting to you live from KNN.
コーチに聞きましたから。おかしいと思ったんですよ、私も。だって私に何の相談もなしに西野先輩が辞めちゃうわけないもの。
Yeah, it turns out our boy Yoshio just kinda misheard. She's leaving to buy materials for the club. Oops. God damn it, Yoshio. This does give us our first opportunity to have a proper conversation with Minori, which isn't a bad one. Maybe not the greatest, but not bad. The bigger development comes at this night of practice. If you've been keeping up, and I know I have, a surprise visitor makes her appearance.
びっくりしちゃった。頑張ってるんだね、本当に。わかった。約束する。その代わり、あなたも一つ約束して。レギュラーになるまで絶対頑張るって。今からでも遅くないよ。絶対に追いつける。約束だよ。じゃあ、指切りしよう。そう、指切り。ほら、指出して。指切り玄馬、嘘ついたら針1000本のます。指切った。二人だけの秘密だね。
From this point onwards, Nijino will be accompanying you to every nighttime practice session. You know what they say, girls love watching boys kick balls into nets at night outside a traditional Japanese shrine. You might as well consider this the point where you and Nijino really start going steady. Her interactions with you at school get a fair bit more intimate, and Minori doesn't hide her frustration.
クラブの買い物、付き合ってほしいんだ。
ニジノ先輩、買い物なら私と行きましょうよ。
ちょっと荷物とか大きくなりそうで。
Fujiwara's moving up in the world enough that he gets a free taste of Nijino's bentos, leading to truly one of the best shots in series history. You'll also get to eat them at night. Get to eat a lot of them. She just keeps making them. It's almost getting scary. Old Masaki's got no time to rest on his laurels, though. He's drawn the ire of a powerful opponent.
失礼します。先輩、一言言っておきますけど、ニジノ先輩と私が話してるときに邪魔しないでください。廊下の時のこととか、それだけ言いたかっただけです。失礼します。すいません。私、帰ります。いえ、そうじゃなくって。別にいいんです。失礼します。
Well, I can certainly say that the situation between the two is going to be a bit odd for a bit. We'll get back to that later, though. The big moment's arriving, and Nijino's asked Fujiwara on something almost sort of resembling a date, but not really. But it is going to turn into one. Once Nijino finishes shopping for supplies at the sports center, and Fujiwara finishes staring at shoes, thinking about how he really wants a new pair of Striker Maxes, the two decide to while away the rest of their hours in the shopping district, a location that the typical Tokimeki Memorial character only ever seems to inhabit for roughly 40 seconds, on a good day. I decided to stop by the clothes shop first, except I didn't.
もう行くの?
Because Nijino gave me the option to go to the theater, and when that idea was broached, it hit me like a bullet. There's something very interesting to see down at the theater. This was something I could not risk passing up. Alas, I made a slight miscalculation. The Hideo Kojima production Metal Gear Solid wouldn't release for another year after this game. so instead Fujiwara and Nijino caught a showing of the hit new space sci-fi buddy cop action drama, Police Knots, a Hideo Kojima production, and a movie Fujiwara ends up not paying the slightest bit of attention to, enraptured by the look on Nijino's face as she watches Police Knots, a production by Hideo Kojima. Man, you really can't follow this movie at all if you haven't been paying attention from the start. All I suggest is that you be brighter than Fujiwara. Nijino will test your knowledge of Kojima's masterwork after watching it. It would be extremely embarrassing to be caught for having never experienced the absolute legend of video game storytelling that is Police Knots. I didn't get a single answer wrong, though, because I respect Police Knots, which used to be but is no longer my least favorite Hideo Kojima game because I remembered I don't like Metal Gear 1 very much, and anyway, I'm gonna play it again later. After that, I made sure to head back to the clothes shop, where I was once again challenged by the game to assemble the perfect outfit for Nijino in order to see a unique CG of her in a wedding dress. As a gamer, I accomplished this task gracefully and without cheating, because all gamers have excellent taste in fashion. Oh yeah, I was saving it for here for some reason and almost forgot, but can you listen to this music? Tokimeki Memorial's always had good music, but they went on another level for this trilogy, and got in touch with electronists like Eriko Tsukayama and the late Yoshitaka Mihara to arrange new versions of the original soundtrack. Needless to say, it's pretty incredible stuff. Our date finally wrapped up perfectly at my dinner with Nijino, where we had a very riveting and extensive conversation about the alienating hypocrisy of social status and wealth inequality, the learned artifice of social communication, and she talked about this boy she cooked 6-armed octopus wiener sausages for in like 6th grade. Gracefully, I expressed mild jealousy, but simple acknowledgement of the courses in life that surely have taken us through fancies for other people, prior to landing at more serious and steady adult relationships in the 2nd year of high school and video games set before I was born.
その子、野球あんまり上手じゃなかったんだけど、ものすごく一生懸命だったの。そうかな?
Oh, and the chef's special was, while odd, quite good, apparently. I know I've been making jokes about it, but this is legitimately all I could ask for from this game. It wasn't until doing a full replay of Tokimeki Memorial after playing that I realized this is seriously filling a massive hole left in that game's frantic pace. There are truly no moments in Tokimeki Memorial this intimate, this quietly charming and charismatic. Tokimeki Memorial is a game where you get into epic turn-based duels with ultra banchos in order to inherit the title of Ultimate Bancho. That's good, great, beautiful even in its own way. Just, drama series is definitely filling a hole here that deepens my appreciation for this world and cast more than I ever could have expected. It's exquisite, man. It's head gem? Maybe I can headcanon it that my non-gender specific but currently male-identifying self-insert soccer player just transitions later. The last big event with Nijino prior to the endgame is the trip to the Ijuin Sports Center. This is just a chill little time, and Ijuin's there, so I had fun. You get to teach Nijino how to swing a baseball bat and be beamed yourself by a super high-velocity baseball. Good stuff. Rounding out this week of absolute chaotic fortune, there's only one real event left to witness. Once you hit a certain point, the game will start prompting you with this odd scene post-practice, where Fujiwara finds some spare balls left over and decides to shoot for some bonus points before he puts them away. Don't miss this. It's slightly tricky. Once you've succeeded, we finally get our chance to wrap up our final loose end. Who else was watching us land that sick goal than the by-beast, Akiho Minori herself? I really like this whole bit, because even as Minori accepts our boy and decides to join the ball polishing band, she still considers him a rival for Nijino's affections. She's just a bit more sporting about it now. It's oddly cute, and I like that the story does take a bit of a pivot here into portraying her in a much more positive light. The real good stuff is in the conversations you get to have with her on the successive nights, though. You're offered a pretty wide selection of topics to broach, and she's as chatty and catty as usual about the lot of them. Her little rants here might genuinely be my favorite part of the game.
私ね、中学の時にある人に注意されたんですよ。もっと女らしくなれって。それでムキになって国語辞典にでも載ってそうな女の子らしい趣味っていうのは一通りみんなやってみたんです。そうですよね。編み物ってね、暇つぶしには最高ですよ。電車の中でも授業中でも好きな時にできますし。誰ってもちろん自分で着るためですよ。当然じゃないですか。
Whether it's birthday presents...
ありがとうございます。今年はあんまりプレゼントとかもらえなかったな。4月生まれって今年みたいに学校変わった時とかは友達と仲良くなる前に過ぎちゃうからもらえないことが多いんですよ。あ、別にプレゼントくれって言ってるわけじゃありませんよ。プレゼントなら西野先輩に手作りの美味しいケーキもらったからもう十分なんです。それ以上のプレゼントって考えられませんから。
Or blood type.
そうですか？でもね、去年初めて献血して分かったんですけど、それまで A 型って信じてましたよ。うちの親は2人とも A 型なんです。だから自分も A 型だって。ほら、雑誌の血液型占いとかあるじゃないですか。今までずっと A 型のところ見て、当たってるとか思ってたんですけどね。そうですよね。あ、ちなみに両親が A 型でも O 型の子供は生まれるんですよ。去年私が O 型って分かった時、お母さんが心配して病院に行ったらそうだって。
Or her plans for the future.
将来ですか？まだ何も考えてません。とりあえず短大でも4年生でもいいですから大学には行きたいなって思ってますけど、短大だとしてもまだ5年もありますから、それまでには自分が一生打ち込めるようなものを見つけたいなって思ってるんですけどね。
She's always got something funny and surprisingly affecting to say. I think it's what she has to say about her hobbies and how that relates with her feelings about Nijino that sticks with me the most, though.
はい、私も西野先輩に会うまでは結構料理の腕自信あったんですけどね。一通り有名なところの料理なら本とか見なくてもできますし。でもね、違うんですよ。西野先輩の料理と私のじゃ。そうじゃなくて、なんていうのかな。西野先輩の場合、美味しい美味しくない以前に気持ちが入ってるんですよ。食べる人のことを本当に考えて作ってるっていうか。例えば、クラブに何か差し入れするときとか、西野先輩、部員全員の好き嫌いちゃんと考えて作ってるんですよ。知ってました？はい、私だったら、嫌なら食べなくて結構ですって言っちゃうところですけど。結局そこなんですよね。西野先輩と私の差って。西野先輩どうしてあんなに他人のために一生懸命になれるのかな。
Minori is probably the game's strongest expression of its core ideas of uncertainty and lack of place. It's something Fujiwara struggles with, but Fujiwara himself is a bit abstract, given that he's, you. Through Minori's presence, the game really gets an opportunity to express a central character who's kind of uncertain in a way that makes Nijino the perfect foil for them. Someone deeply committed, totally lacking in irony, wholly fixed in the place they've chosen to be in. As a silly little side story VN, drama series was already doing fine, but Minori is probably the main thing that elevates it into a story. The end of Drama Series Volume 1 comes a bit sudden, and by sudden I mean it begins with Fujiwara committing the ultimate unforced bag fumble for the funniest possible reason.
毎晩神社で練習なさってるんでしょ？
お前そんなことしてんのか？そりゃそこまでしてレギュラーになんなかったら落ち込むよな。そんなことよりさ、如月さん、ゴールデンウィーク空いてる日ある？
部活終わってからそんなことしてるんですか？
結構遅くまで頑張ってるんだけど。
すごいな。
でもなかなかうまくならないみたい。才能ないのかな。
どうしたんですか？それじゃあ西野先輩、私先にグラウンド行ってますね。
何？そろそろクラブ始まるから急いでね。
冷たい暗闇が閉ざすよ。君がいるならば抱きしめたいのに、時を戻せるならば
Yeah, you can probably guess where this is going, but alas, Ball Boy is not so wise. His shattered heart is brushed aside by the coach, and he skips all the practices, even the nightly ones.
指切りしよう。明日も頑張って練習するって約束しよう。指切り研磨、嘘ついたらハリセンボ、ノーマス、指切った。約束したよ。私、お弁当作ってくるから。あなたは練習やめないって信じてるから。じゃあ、ね。
To be clear, this is all extremely good shit. It just makes me want to fucking throttle Fujiwara to death. Tomorrow comes, and a call from Yoshio with it. He's got it in his heart to try and cheer our little moron up with a depression date. The combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell of depression dates. Kagami and Yuina. That's, well, you got a funny lineup, Yoshio, I'll give you that. There's a part of this where Yuina murders a superhero stage play actor. It's kinda Kino.
何やっても楽しくなれるように脳改造してくれようかしら。
Ultimately, our sad face leaves the entire date in smolders, and we follow Yoshio back home to play cards with him and Yumi. Not the worst way to spend the night, until...
お前の番だぞ、おい。
お兄ちゃん、電話。
るからだろう。
如月さんっていう人から。
え、如月さんから？おお、ラッキー。
先輩、本当に大丈夫？顔色悪いよ。それならいいけど。
おい、今如月さんからなんだけど、虹野さんがまだ帰ってないらしいんだ。心当たりはないかって。お前何か。おい、場所知ってるのか？おい。
やっと来た。何やってたんだ？遅いぞ。
In these final moments, we truly must measure the weight of Fujiwara's crimes. I mean, he left a message for her on her answering machine telling her he wouldn't be there for nighttime practice today, but on the other hand, he would have broken the pinky promise. And, broken it over what are obviously, very visibly going to be false premises. So, I think Fujiwara deserves to be sentenced to death. But hey, she did go on a journey to buy him a new pair of Striker Maxes. Anyway, we don't have to worry too much about her condition. Apparently, she will conveniently be able to heal from this cold just in time to make it to the big game tomorrow. Don't worry though, if you want Fujiwara to feel some form of punishment, he does get to guilt himself by listening to all the answering machine messages that Nijino left him while he was on his terrible, terrible date.
3件です。再生を開始します。
もしもし、虹野です。今、お昼の1時です。昨日はなんかごめんね。きっと機嫌が悪かっただけだよね。それなのに、いろいろ言っちゃったりして、どうもごめんなさい。クラブ辞めるなんて本気にしてません。いつものところで待ってます。ちゃんと来てね。来てくれたらご褒美をあげます。じゃあね。今からお昼ご飯？お弁当あるんだけど食べない？いっぱい作りすぎちゃって余っちゃった。もったいないから食べて。もしもし、虹野です。何をしているんだよ。元気出せよ。本当に用事でいないんだね。でも今日中に渡したいからな。うちに帰ってきたらでいいですから、いつものところに来てください。待ってます。元気出してね。じゃあ。わかった。約束する。その代わり、あなたも一つ約束して。レギュラーになるまで絶対頑張るって。今からでも遅くないよ。絶対に追いつける。 もしもし、虹野です。留守電聞いてもらえてますか？もし私が何か機嫌を損ねるようなことをしてたら謝ります。ごめんなさい。でもどうしても今日渡したいものがあるので、もしよかったらいつもの神社に来てください。今回のことは本当に残念だったと思うけど、絶対またチャンスが来ると思います。こんなに頑張っているのに。頑張ってるだけじゃないわ。夜練見てても私は素人だけど本当に上手くなっているのがわかります。あなたは根性だけじゃない。絶対にサッカーの才能があります。他の誰が信じなくても私はそう信じています。だからサッカーこれからも頑張ってください。それでもしよかったら私を国立競技場に連れて行ってください。
指切りしたじゃない。レギュラーになるまで頑張るって約束したじゃない。
それじゃ待ってます。何度もメッセージ残してすいません。もう電話しません。ちょっとの時間でもいいですから神社に来てくれると嬉しいです。じゃ頑張れ。
再生を終了しました。メッセージは以上です。
Oh yeah, the evidence is just stacked up. Fujiwara definitely deserves to die. Hey, did I mention the reason Kisaragi knew he was practicing was because she lives across from the shrine? I wouldn't exactly say he's earned it, but I guess this story can't conclude without giving our little football head all of his little wishes.
フォワードの3年太田が怪我をして当分の間出場できなくなった。代わりに、おいお前、出場しろ。おい、お前だ。
And we can rest safely knowing he will never blow them all into dust again based on unfounded assumptions he could just ask people questions about. Nijino hands out these handcrafted bracelets, and Fujiwara reflects inside himself to recognize the absolute limits of his foolish stupidity, with one final speech from Major Minori.
まったく油断も隙もないんだから。先輩、一言言っておきますけど、西野先輩をがっかりさせたらただじゃ済みませんからね。
Our stupid little football head is off to kick a galactic class punt.
「あなたに出会えて本当によかった」。
The first entry in the drama series isn't perfect, but it's probably better than Police 9. More seriously, I enjoyed my time with this game a lot. While the faceless protagonist somewhat limits its storytelling options, Fujiwara isn't a total void of charisma, and the mix of low-key comedy you get with the wider cast and more chill, in-depth conversations with Nijino and Minori make the game pretty hard to say anything bad about. Like, the main thing I always want from this kind of game is to be able to relax and read some funny dialogue, and this game's got that in spades. Extremely well paced out, just long enough to avoid dragging, while still fitting in all the added texture and depth to its world that I was in there for. There are some funny things to remark on about how it contrasts with the original on an artistic level. The character designs are all new, trading the brighter and more fantastical look with these more earthy, grounded colors, similar to later games. It's a shift, but I think it works better for the game's tone overall. This is the kind of story where Yoshio watching wrestling to figure out techniques to escape his sister's deadly maneuvers is more an actual long-term subplot with mild payoff in your relationship with him than a throwaway gag. And that texture, even in this relatively simple earlier form, really does make for a great little time. I've got no idea if anyone has broader plans to translate more of the series, but I want to stress that this shouldn't be overlooked at all in discussion of Tokimeki Memorial, even within that first game. It's a very worthy spin-off that recontextualizes a lot about that world and characters in ways that pretty directly address a lot of complaints you could make about them. It's legitimately changed how I look at these games for the better. We'll get to the later volumes one of these days. 2 and its reputation precede them, so I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't get around to them eventually. But I'm very happy to say that Nijiiro no Seishun is itself a very worthy game that I can easily recommend playing to anyone with interest in a simple little slice-of-life sports VN. It's not quite under the tree, but it is still under the same beautiful blue skies.
Excuse me ちょっと聞きたいんだけど
Yo, what do you want?
Please 宿への道を知りたいの
Yo, man, I have no idea what it's saying. What do you want to say? You better go to the information booth. There's one of them on the right, so keep it straight. You get it?
Thank you